here.
We will definitely not shut up and dribble.
The champ is here.
I must be the greatest.
The champ is here.
I'm going to continue to stand with the people.
The champ is here.
I will not lose.
I'm a bad man. I took up the world.
Yes. Welcome. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you were here with me. My name is EJ, and I got my man.
Hey, mate.
Yes, he is the DB of the show, and we are Black in Sports, giving a voice to the culture that won't shut up and dribble. Here, interviewing the best professionals in the game and in the boardroom, covering it all, laughing at all, while providing a platform to be heard. So, you know how we do. Got to welcome our guest here. So he comes to us by the way of Florida. This Gator will help you tackle your appetite. A true entrepreneur who's always will have you repping your city. Please give it up for our man, Zachary King. Let's go.
Sir, definitely. And I appreciate y'all. Thank you so much for having me on, man.
Absolutely, Zach, man. So we don't pull no punches, man. We jump right into it, man. So we have what we call just shoot your shot moment, right? So this could have been any time in life where you went for it all, bet on yourself. It could have been younger days. It could have been something as current as last week, but just a shoot your shot moment, man. Give us a quick story when you shot your shot.
Oh, man. Pretty much that's all I've been doing, man. Either shoot my shot or reinvent myself. I'm just, that's kind of been my forte, man. Even let's just start with sports, for example, man. I didn't really have that normal trajectory for a college athlete. I only really played football 2 years in high school. And he basically ended up in Florida as a recruited walk-on. Man, I was a basketball player by trade, kind of growing up. And, one of my uncles kind of knew somebody in Florida. That's how it kind of happened. So that was kind of the first big time me shooting my shot, trying something new. Obviously, being somewhat decent at it, and going out on a limb and putting myself out there. And it didn't necessarily work out football-wise for me, but it kind of opened up a lot of doors, and it was a great experience.
There you go, man. That's a shoot your shot moment, man. Mate.
Yeah.
So you kind of touched on my question a little bit, but where did your love for sports kind of start?
Man, I mean, obviously with Jordan, I think, just with the different players, if I had to go back, Jordan, Iverson, Shaq, those were, I think, definitely the key people. And I grew up in a sports family. My mama had two brothers that played in the NFL. Obviously, I'm a big guy, just naturally just love sports, grew up in that environment. But to answer your question specifically, I think just seeing those characters, seeing the Jordan, I remember growing up, man, the Bulls come on, no matter what you was doing, everybody was locked in. Being from Tampa, only about an hour away from Orlando when I was growing up, that was that huge, Penny and Shaq era. Still mad at Nick Anderson for missing them free throws, but just those type of key players, and obviously Iverson with the swag, man, just doing so much for the culture. I think our generation was blessed to see people in sports, but also them evolve as iconic figures outside of sports.
Man, true ball player, huh?
Yeah.
So you touched on some hoopers, and I know you say you played football only 2 years in high school. So what was your hoop game like? Give me the scouting.
I was decent, man. So I overate my basketball position, man. When I was playing basketball, I was a shooting guard, right? Like, 6'4", 210 pounds, right? Like that type of guy. And then eventually when I got to high school, I just outgrew my position. The boarding school I went to in Virginia, they recruited for sports. Just in academics and across the board. And it was a situation where, like, you can't just play center just because you gained 15 pounds, right? Like we got somebody who's doing that. So eventually I got on the football field, man, and just really developed into my body. It was kind of like a given that I was, definitely going to be, some type of football player position, start out at D-line and then kind of work my way, to offensive line in college. But yeah, man, that was my transition from basketball to football, man. Kind of how it ended up happening. It wasn't by choice, man. It was up to me. I still be out there shooting threes, but I just ate too much at the training table and went from a shooting guard to a defensive end with overnight.
We'll just call it positionless basketball. That's what they call it now.
That's what, right? I mean, you were ahead of your time, man. You were ahead of your time.
That's what I was about to say. I was ahead of my time. I mean, the stuff you see these guys doing now, giving up layups for open threes. I mean, so yeah, man. But back then, coach wasn't having that. Get your ass on the block or get your ass on the point. We picking people for that.
Hilarious. So in high school, I mean, you talked about two of the sports, but you were a three-star athlete, man. So you
Yeah,
did
I
track.
did track. I did shot put and discus. I was, captain on the
Let's
track team.
go. I
Yeah,
was a
man.
part
So
of that crew.
yeah,
And they
and
closed track on us, man.
that's what I kind of liked about our generation, man. Coach would make you do everything.
Yes.
It was no
Y'all
off.
weren't doing nothing. Y'all weren't doing nothing, man. Y'all was just kicking it over there. Y'all weren't doing nothing. Through the track meets, y'all just chilling.
Yeah, like I said, I went to high school in Virginia, so we actually had indoor and outdoor track. We actually ran track 2 seasons. We had like an indoor facility during the winter, and then obviously spring track. So yeah, man, they wouldn't let nobody get out of shape.
So how did that progression, what was the deal from being born in Florida to going to boarding school? How did that
So yeah, I mean, it was one of those things where obviously I grew up with just my mom and I. My father really wasn't a part of my life, and so it was one of those things I always was tried to crave, to get better, like to put myself in a position where there was competition or where there was some type of mentor or guidance. And one of my cousins actually knew somebody who went to this boarding school. It wasn't military. It wasn't like, you got in trouble or nothing. It really was just a private school that kind of like, what you see now, like, with the Finley Preps and the Sierra King, these different organizations now. We was doing that, on the East Coast, 20, 30 years ago, right? The Oak Hills, the Mathis, schools like that. And so anyway, I just, took a couple of visits, did some sports camps and some summer schools, and it was a perfect fit, man. Kind of exactly what I needed, coming from just a situation with just mom and I. Like, was far away from home. Virginia is a ride from Florida. So that part I missed as far as being close to my family, man. But it was a life-changing opportunity for me. I totally enjoyed it.
So we'll get more into your business as we move down the line of the pod, but I'm interested because there's a lot of kids now, as you said, that they go to high school, a different place away from home and things like that, and they got to kind of take care of their business a little earlier than what I guess when we were growing up, right? So I guess how did that prepare you for entrepreneurship and just kind of running the business yourself?
Totally. So just being quite frank with you, right? Like I think it prepared me in so many ways. Obviously, being on my own, right? Just being on my own, far away from home, family not really being able to afford to come visit a lot. So you kind of were forced to grow up fast and do things that maybe people wouldn't have experienced until they went to college. I think that was the first kind of differentiating, factor compared to other people my age at that time. I think the other thing too, just being straight up, was this school, besides the athletes, there was not a lot of African American people on campus, right? Like if you weren't playing ball, who can afford $45,000 a year in tuition, right? So it's either a scholarship or you got a jump shot, or like Big said, you got a jump shot, or what I mean. So
selling something else,
right? So that was kind of the mentality. So it made you even adjust to people from all over the world. So here I am, 15 years old. My roommate is from France. My junior year, my roommate was from Hong Kong, right? Just being around all these different international people who weren't there because of sports. They were there because, their daddy had a bag or they knew it was the best education for them. So I think that was just, as far as your question with entrepreneurship, just being around diverse groups of people, all cultures at a very early age, far away from home, out of my comfort zone, and just understanding, man, like you got to reinvent yourself. You got to network with everybody, because that's how the world works, especially from a financial standpoint.
And so another thing, setting the stage early, with your limited time, you said you played 2 years, but you went undefeated in high school. Excuse me.
Yeah, we did. Especially I think I think my senior season was when we did it.
Okay.
It was definitely like almost like the half of the junior. Yeah, like maybe we lost one game my junior year, I think. But yeah, we had a great team, man. I mean, like in that league, that prep league, that's the same prep league that Chris Long went to, Plaxico Burris, Chris Perry. I'm trying to think of some other guys. This recent guy, CJ Prosize. I mean, so that league had a lot of talent, and a lot of people from different areas don't really understand, but like it's some ballers in Virginia. Like Allen Iverson is from Hampton Roads. Mike Vick. Talk about Jamie Sharp, all these different people. Like, so that it's a lot of talent up there in general. Definitely basketball wise. Like when I was in high school, that was the same time. JJ Redick was over there in Cave Spring. You had James White at Oak Hill. You had Carmelo Anthony. You had Big Roy Hibbert at Georgetown Prep. These are all people that was in our league. So just experience. My high school schedule was like almost like a college schedule. We played people based on ranking. It wasn't just based in your city. One game we might be in New Jersey. We played Blair Academy. Luell Dang was there. Villanueva. So you just great. You really got to see what your game was really about. And, depending on who you play, you could get picked apart or you could put on a show. And the cool thing was because everybody lived there, when we had tournaments, sometimes we wouldn't even be in the tournament. I remember going to a tournament and seeing, Raymond Felton, seeing Rashad McCants. We weren't even playing them, but, hell, it wasn't like I could go home to Florida, right? So I'm bored on the weekend. Let's go watch a hoop tournament. Even if we're not in it, let's see what it's about. So it was a great just overall experience for diversity and just really putting yourself with the best people in the game.
That's awesome.
So you named a lot of guys from like our era, and that's super
I'm
dope.
38.
So I'm 36. So that's the era that I grew up in. It's different now. We didn't have social media like it is now, right? So we didn't always know what was going on the other side of the country with who's doing what. You just kind of heard the name. So how did you? I mean, a lot of those guys were playing in your area. Like, did you hear about other people on the West Coast and stuff back then too?
No, and I talk. I just obviously I deal with a lot of players right now on the NIL side of things with my different businesses, and that's one thing I tell them. I say take advantage of all these things that are at your fingertips that we had to fight for, die for, and no disrespect to anybody playing now. But just the things that are like if you were a 5-star athlete, or if you were a parade All-American or McDonald's All-American, the things you had to go through just because there was no social media at your fingertips, with a click of a button, you really had to put on. It had to be a tournament, or somebody had to see you, or you physically had to connect.
Are you making them homemade tapes and
your homemade tapes, sending them out? Literally grabbing tapes from coach, and just that whole process. And just expanding people's minds. Like when I did my recruiting visit, I didn't do any visits on the West Coast. If I would have sent my mom, something like, "Hey man, USC recruited me," she'd be like, "Man, what the hell? Like I can barely go see you in Virginia, and you talk about go to California." So like those type of things. I tell these guys, man, the world is your oyster, man. Take advantage. And just growing up, like to your point, those things. No disrespect to anybody's game on a different coast or a different side, but it was just very niche market where if you weren't physically there, people didn't see you.
Right.
And that's why AAU was so important, then, and especially then, because that was how people got exposure.
So moving into college, man, I mean,
this is a fun
one. Suit your shot moment, man. You walked on.
Yeah, I did. So long story short, it was kind of and it's kind of a funny process. So I had a coach. His name is Dwayne Dixon.
Florida Gators too, by the way. So
Florida Gator, University of Florida, 2002. Spurrier era was kind of like my initial recruitment process. And I had a coach at Florida named Dwayne Dixon. He was a wide receiver coach. Shout out to Double D. And my uncle, knew him and played with his brother. So it was kind of like, they knew each other. I didn't have much experience. I had great size, great technique, great footwork, but I didn't have a lot of film under my belt or really even a lot of credentials. And so, yeah, man, my uncle connected me with Double D. We worked everything out. And basically, I came on to Florida as a recruited walk-on.
That's cool.
And it was, definitely a crazy college experience. Talking about basically 3 coaches in 5 years.
Yeah. I mean, as a recruiter walk-on, there's probably some other options there for you too, right? So University of Florida's SEC. Was there?
Yeah, I had some others. Obviously, Miami I was looking at Virginia Tech, VMI, Georgia Tech. I'm trying to think, Alabama, Ole Miss was heavy. So people like that. But
in that region, right? Just heavy in that region, kind of back to what you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, after being at school in Virginia, I definitely wanted to get back to Florida, and my mama wasn't trying to let me go to Miami because my best friend was there. So it was, and I hated Florida State, so it was like, hey man, here we go. We're at the University of Florida, and then once everything kind of worked out with Double D and everything, it just made sense.
Love it. So, go ahead, mate.
No, go ahead. I mean, that was an interesting era for Florida football. Rex Grossman, quarterback, and
so that's what I was about to tell you. So when I first got there as a freshman, Rex Grossman was my quarterback, Sexy Rexy. We also had like Taylor Jacobs at receiver, Ernest Graham at running back.
Yeah. Well, I was even coming. You came in, and Chad Crowder was.
So Crowder was my class. So that's all my class.
That's what I'm saying. He came in with you, right?
Crowder actually did something crazy. Crowder, he hurt his knee in college. High school. Towards ACL his senior year. So he basically didn't enroll until spring ball. So people don't realize this. Crowder really only had like a year and a half, 2 years of Florida, and did his thing, got the hell out of there. Just because of the injury and because of when he left for the Dolphins. He basically came in 2003, and by spring 2005, he was already in the league. Yeah, Crowder came on a mission, man. It's crazy. Crowder and I connected so many different ways. One of my uncles played with him. His daddy, the Dolphins. His daddy, Randy Crowder. My other uncle played with his daddy at the Bucks. And he's basically kind of grew up in Tampa. Obviously we were the same class, both of us light skinned, crazy people, outspoken.
Let's go.
He a little crazy than I
Shout
am.
out to light skin. Let's
Yeah, he a
go.
little crazy than I am, man. But Crowder's
Yeah, he's
solid.
silly, man. On that show, man, he be.
But to be honest with you, EJ, he's been like that for 20 years, man. My mama used to call him like a little media monkey. She's like, if you don't make no money playing football, you definitely gonna make some money being broadcasting or just that personality. In a lot of ways ahead of his time. He was doing that 20 years ago, and I'm glad he's definitely found a lane and doing well.
Well, mama called it, boy.
Yeah, man, he's a real deal, man, and it just is. Crowder's mama's that same way. They are identical twins, right? Like if you put a wig on Crowder, like that's his mama. She's outspoken, cuss you out. Just some funny stuff, he's country too. Like people I don't know how much he's kind of exposed on his shows, man, but he loves hog hunting, fishing. So he's really like an outdoor, almost like a black Tarzan, if you will. Once you really get to know him, yeah, man. But he's funny.
Go.
I mean, he's been like I remember Crowder. I used to take girls out on dates and stuff, and Crowder would always give me a hard time. Like, Zach, why you always taking girls out to nice restaurants? And like we in college, we broke. Why you doing all this stuff? Don't be taking them out to eat and this and that. So he's totally changed, man. I'm glad he settled down and obviously got a family and doing his thing.
Let's go.
Nah, he still got some stories. He still got some wild stories.
Oh, and I got some stories about him. I don't want to put him out there, but I got some stories about him, man. That, like I say, this man was doing this 20 years ago from just like what the fuck are you doing? Like just the craziest shit. I mean, like go to class with a big snake. Like have a little baby alligator in the shower that he found at the lake. He'll go hog hunting and he'll wrestle the real hog. Just like I'm like, what's you? It's like redneck crazy, just hunting, like it's just crazy type stuff he was on, but just always authentically himself. And that's what I would give him, man. And one thing about that, when he got on that football field, he balled out. I remember one game, I think it was Ole Miss. He had 22 tackles. Man was just a great student of the game. And a lot of the stuff he was doing from a media standpoint, he make people laugh and this and that, and he'll get drunk with you. But Sunday morning, when you still drunk, he going in that film room and he's studying, and he put on this facade like he was this big crazy person, but he wasn't crazy at all, man. He used that to his advantage, and Crowder actually did this thing, man. Like I said, a great guy, and obviously has transitioned and talk about reinventing himself and transitioning into a whole nother bag.
Yeah, another name, Ben Troop, was with there. We had him on the show. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, Ben Troop. Ben Troop. I'm mad at Ben Troop, man. He owed me a pair of sweatpants. I let him borrow some sweatpants. He still ain't gave him. You tell Ben Troop, you're not in college where you're borrowing clothes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. But
now they become yours. Yeah. So we had Ben in season 2, episode 15, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, Ben Troop was there. He was our tight end. I remember that Outback Bowl against Michigan when he jumped over that guy, man. That was the first time people just hopping over people, and Troop did that. Our whole sideline went crazy, but it was a great. I mean, I had characters from football. I mean, obviously basketball. We had Joakim Noah, Al Horford. Even David Lee. White boy David Lee played for the Warriors and Knicks.
They went back to back, right?
Yeah, David Lee went on that team, but Noah, Horford, those guys went back to back. 06, 07. I'm trying to think. Even swimming wise, like the Olympic swimmer Ryan Locke. During that time, the track team won a lot of different titles then. So yeah, man, just a great environment.
Was she Florida State? Now I'm drawing.
Who was that?
Florida State.
Was it State?
Florida.
What's the girl's name?
It was Florida.
Was it Florida?
Mm-hmm. What was the name, EJ?
Natalie Hines.
I believe Florida. Don't Florida. Yeah,
it was one of those. All right, man. So. Yeah, man. So great experience, like you said, man. Football may not worked out, but we want to hold on, MH. You had anything else?
Nah, man. It just sounds crazy being an athlete at University of Florida, man.
Like I said, it was one of those.
Hold on, you had even the transition, right? Like you had Charlie.
So that's
Strong.
what I'm about to tell y'all. So that's basically
had the 3 coaches, days, right?
It was 3 coaches in 5 years. So technically, my class was recruited by Spurrier. But then that basically everybody was pretty much a done deal, and that's when Spurrier jumped ship and went to the Redskins. So when we got there, our official coach, who didn't recruit us, was Ron Zook, right? And so Ron Zook, you know how it works in college recruiting. We got 20-something players that's technically Spurrier's recruits. Like you look at me as a lineman, I'm tall, lanky, I'm good at pass blocking. Like I'm a typical Spurrier guy. You look at the type of people Ron Zook was bringing in, a lot of screens, traps. Those type of things. So his linemen were totally different. But long story short, he brought in his own recruits. And most of my class, my entire class, except for Cedric Faison and one other guy, got redshirted. And so basically that 02 class and that 03 class were all basically combined. That 03 class is Andre Caldwell, shout out to Bubba, Chad Jackson, D Webb. That was that 03 class, which was super stock. They had damn near 10 parade All-Americans on that class. Chris Leak. And so anyway, that was that class. And then Zook did his thing for like 2.5 years. He got fired, and then here comes Urban Meyer, with the Tebow class, the Pouncey brothers, Aaron Hernandez, that whole class.
And they passed up Charlie Strong. Was it something that Charlie was ready, or was it just one of those things?
Oh man, I mean, it's black in sports, so we got to go black, man. I just think I need to be honest with you transparently. I can't call it another way. I just don't even know if University of Florida was ready for a black head coach then. I'll be honest with you. Charlie Strong is one of the most genius defensive coordinators I've ever been around, and just a great guy and a great person, man. You talking about a hell of a motivator. I mean, I don't care what you're going through. Charlie slapped you on your ass on the way to practice. He got to cuss you out, whatever you got to do to get it out you. Charlie's amazing. And obviously I'm excited to see where he is. I know he was in Jacksonville last with Urban, and I don't think is he back at Alabama? I don't know. He's gone so many different places. I don't know where Charlie is now.
Yeah,
is he in Miami?
I think he's Miami. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. So they got him a good one, man. But to answer your question, I just think, I think that was what it was. But if I was Jeremy Foley, who was the athletic director then, after Urban Meyer, I would have gone straight to Charlie Strong. But
did you see Coach without a turtleneck?
Charlie Strong, yeah, that Florida heat, you get it out you, man. Yeah, he tried to wear that to look cute, man. But when it's 90 degrees with 100% humidity, yeah, you got to take that thing off.
He took that turtleneck off. Boy, yeah, I ain't never seen Coach without a turtleneck off.
Yeah, he got that. Yeah, he had to take it. But yeah, man, Charlie's a dope dude, man, and a great defensive mind. I mean, I'm excited to see what they do in Miami. I really feel. Miami's gonna do something special. I got a couple guys down there, that I rap with us on the team. Big John Campbell, shout out to him. Xavier Restrepo, if I'm messing up your last name, Zabo, forgive me. But yeah, the quarterback. A lot of people down. I think Miami's on the right time, and they're doing things to get the culture. Bringing those old greats back to the school. The Ed Reed, the Warren Sapp.
It's a big one, yeah.
Yeah, and bringing that swagger back.
I hope so, man. That's definitely one of my teams down there. Yeah. Man. I'd love to go see them at least annually. All right, man. So we want to jump into the career, man. We call this In the Game. This is where we're going to talk about what the transition was. So, man, let's just talk about you're a businessman, as Jay-Z.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite lines, man. So, I can kind of let me just start you kind of in chronological order, right? So obviously football wasn't working out, right? 3 different coaches. We went 8-5. Hell, we didn't even have no linemen drafted, right? So obviously the handwriting's on the wall. I had a best friend who I'm still in business with at the time. His father was into food court, franchising of food court licensing of food court restaurants inside malls. And my family our whole life has been in the restaurant business, whether it's, barbecue restaurants, fried chicken, soul food. And so my best friend's dad approached me, my senior year of college and was like, look, man, you get ready to graduate. I know you ain't got no job. You're not going to the league. So what is your plan, right? Because I know your mama as well as I think I know her. Your ass better have a job. So I was like, well,
come back home, nigga.
Yeah, you definitely right about Bernadine King. Your ass has to have a job. And so I said, okay, well, perfect. What do you have in mind? I mean, obviously you're this huge restaurateur. He probably had 400 restaurants nationwide, mostly Asian, teppanyaki, sushi restaurants inside the food court. And anybody in the food court will tell you it's just like the neighborhood. I'm trying to own every house on the block, right? Even if one house is not as successful or has the best real estate, I'm still the landlord. And so he's like, well, look, I got an idea. We can take your grandfather's chicken recipe, put it with a fast casual, quick service, basically restaurant, and see how it goes. It's not a soul food, but it's almost just like mama's cooking, but just fast food, quick service. Similar to Raising Cane's, Zaxby's, that type of deal. So the name of the concept is called Chicken Now. We opened up in 2007. Our first store was in Orlando, Florida. It was at that Prime Outlet Mall, tourist mall.
Really quick. So with that, is that a franchise or is that did you name it, you created or?
Yeah. So this is something we started completely from the ground up. I mean, everything from the kitchen sink to the sauces to the recipe is our creation. Okay. We technically don't operate as a franchise. We operate as a license. We don't have a franchise fee or agreement, but we basically co-own all of these different units. That's how we were able to grow so quickly and move. Because a lot of times when you're trying to franchise, you got to get all that stuff approved, the timing. And just our growth Our growth, we just went, like when we first opened, and we opened up 20 stores in 1 year. But long story short, it was just like mama's cooking fried chicken, tenders, Kool-Aid, macaroni and cheese, stuff that I could make at your house, comfort food. And so the first store was in Orlando. We did well, tourist market. And then from then we kind of used that model and scaled from in 2007 to basically 2009 was about 20 units that were open. Obviously, we had no idea recession was coming. We had no idea online shopping was getting ready to take off. But that was kind of my first business, for a first life, stepping into entrepreneurship fresh out of college, 23 years old, hiring people older than me, working 7 days a week, right? Just the whole nine, and just the grind of being an owner and a young owner, making mistakes and learning on the go, but not being able to, really tell my people honestly, like, hell, a lot of times I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was learning on the fly.
That's awesome, man.
Mm-hmm. And then after that, I did that for about 7 years. We grew that concept to 56 units nationwide, even stores in Puerto Rico. We even did a licensing agreement in Dubai. So we grew the concept, but the concept it was still some locations open. And there's still one even in Las Vegas open at the Las Vegas South Mall. But it's one of those things, people are not shopping in the malls like they used to. Like how we would grow up, even if we were broke, we just walk around the mall and hang out. And like my mama said one time, we ain't buying nothing, we just sampling. Just keep sampling until you get full, right? Just just keep going around and grab. That was our culture, just to hang out, go meet girls, go just look at clothes that we couldn't afford. But now, people can online shop and window shop. If you broke, you don't have to be embarrassed walking the mall and not buy nothing. You can just go on Amazon and just stay on there until you find something that you can't afford. So that was kind of the deal. But we still have stores that are still open and doing well. But I think maybe out of the 55 that we had open at one time, maybe only 18 are still open now. And obviously with pandemic, that put a huge hurt on a lot of stores and owners, and not just me, people across the nation.
Gotcha. So how did that transition go for you, right? Because like this is one of the things that we definitely talk to, like a lot of athletes on all different levels, right? And MH and myself have definitely experienced it on different levels, right? So how was that trend? Like, it's great that you had that mentor, that friend, but how was that transition for you?
Okay, so it's okay. So the first thing is, it's hard as hell, tough as hell. You can have a mentor, but I was the one working 90 hours a week with my feet hurt frying chicken, right? He was driving his Bentley, and he already $30 million up, right? So you can have mentors, you can have guidance, but you have to do the work. So as far as how was it? Hard as hell. It also was rewarding when you saw something come from nothing, and now you got a $2 million store that's killing it, right? And it weren't all successes, right? You have a lot of losses. Especially when you're putting your own money up, that whole business, that whole model. We didn't have funding. People tell you banks don't loan restaurants monies. The restaurant is the number one failing business in America, right? So it's high risk, high reward. It's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. And like I said, for me, I was 23 years old, training people, learning on the go. I was a hard worker, but the adjustment was very tough. But the reward, at 23 years old, I'm my own boss. I remember when I first started, I had like probably 70 homeboys in the league. They laughing at me. They showing up to my restaurant in Escalade. Oh, you back there mopping the floors, and you back there, bro, washing the dishes and things like that. But to any true owner will tell you, man, you can't be an absentee owner. You got to get your hands dirty. And by me being there, I was able to see things, interact with customers. See if people finish their food. How did they like it? Did they come back? Really get authentic feedback. Way before like a Yelp review or something like that. Those things are not really authentic. And by the time you see something on Yelp, hell, that person already either done loved your business and left, or hated your business and badmouthed you. So from a restaurant standpoint, man, it was tough reinventing myself, hard as hell, but at the same time, very rewarding. And even those skill sets that I learned in the restaurant game propelled me for all the stuff that I've been doing lately, and even the connections. Because people got to see me firsthand. They're like, man, I'm gonna fuck with this guy because I see him working. Even if he doesn't really know what he's doing with this other entity, I know he's a hard worker. I know he's honest. I know he's dedicated. And those skill sets are interchangeable throughout any business, and definitely in sports. That's what you learn in sports: hard work, dedication, being on time, dealing with adversity. Overcoming challenges, coming back from setback, coming back from injury. It's no different in business. And so a lot of these guys who are trying to transition into that life, if they can just hone in on the things that made them successful on the field or on the court,
right?
I mean, you got a winner.
That's the shit I want. I mean, that's big time shit, because you touched on it about what you pull from the sports, but the mental stuff that we don't really talk about. Obviously, you got a lot of homeboys and people in the league doing something, and everybody's dream is to get there, but you're doing something else. How did you get through it mentally?
I knew I always wanted to be successful, and I think it's good and bad, because a lot of times, as especially as Black people, we ain't patient.
Right.
We ain't patient. We want a quick fix, or we want to be the man right away. So I think that was something that was frustrating for me, that I had to realize, like, I had the skill set, I had all the tools, but just understanding that nothing is going to happen overnight. And, you look at DJ Khaled, right? He ain't really pop off till he was 40 years old. You look at these different people, right? And nobody wants to hear that story. Now, everybody wants to be DJ Khaled now in the Maybach, but when he was just, making mixtapes, right, 15, 20 years ago, people don't want to go through that process. But that process is what propels you. So I think, to answer your question, I think those are the skill sets I pulled from it. And I just knew I wanted to be successful. And I think at an early age, I saw other people from different cultures getting money, that some were Black, some weren't. But I saw another route. So I'll give you an example, like my homeboy that I told you I started a business with, a chicken business. There's an area in Tampa, Florida, exclusive neighborhood called Avila. So my homeboy lived in that neighborhood, and Warren Sapp lived in that neighborhood. And Warren Sapp, he pull up in his SL. He had a license plate that said QB Killer. He pull up to the guardhouse, ignorant. Car smell like weed, bands, that bit system bumping. And as a Black man, I'm like, damn, this is who I want to be. And then I get to the neighborhood, and I go to my homeboy's house, and I say, well, shit, let's ride by Sapp's house. And then my homeboy got a bigger house than Sapp. So it made me realize, like, love Sapp to death. Hall of Famer, huge respect for him. But I just saw different people in different avenues of life and different cultures getting money, and it just made me realize that there was another route.
So you started chicken. I mean, but there are other restaurants that you have, right? Like, so
yeah.
let's transition into, like, what were some of the other cuisines you dabbled in?
Yeah, so right now the main one that I'm kind of focusing on is a restaurant called Cubanidad, 1885.
Let's
like
go.
I told you, yeah,
Get
and obviously
get that 305, baby.
Yeah, me and EJ have eaten there, and then I gotta definitely get y'all boys out to eat at the new spot. But long story short, I mean, my whole restaurant group is like me. They're from Florida. You go back home, it's a Cuban spot on every corner, right? Everybody got their own little croquetas or maduros or whatever they got. And so when we got to Vegas, we just realized, man, like there's a ton of great Mexican food, but there was really no other Latino cultures, food being highly represented on an upscale, authentic level. So we opened up our first spot in 2019, right over here by my office in Summerlin. It's right on Fort Apache and Twain. And, we did well, pretty much, 1,200 square feet. We have some authentic dishes, but primarily a sandwich shop, with some other key items. You got to have the lechon, you got to have the, ropa vieja, stuff like that. And so we did well, man. We opened up, like we say, had no idea pandemic was coming. We opened up in 2019. We've had great Yelp reviews. Obviously, we've done well, and our business has pretty much scaled 20% each year we've been open. And we got a lot of people, more importantly, saying, look, man, I'm driving from Henderson to come get this food. Y'all got to open up by my side of town. Y'all got to come over here. And we have a Chef Dennis Martinez. Shout out to him. He is originally from Cuba. We recruited him to join our team in 2018. He was from Miami, brought his whole family out. He's got a great culinary background. And so we got this other spot in Henderson that's about 3,000 square feet that can kind of let Chef do his thing, and then it has a space where you can kind of show off his skill set. He's, like I say, he trained in Venezuela, trained in Peru, so he can do a lot of different cuisines. And that's just what we're seeing, the feedback from the people, that, man, they just love the food, and it's just like mama's cooking. It's nothing preserved or nothing, prepackaged. Everything is like, hey, I can take all my pots and all my stuff to EJ's house, and it's going to taste just like it does at the restaurant, just like mama cooked it. And we're trying to provide customers with an upscale experience where you don't have to spend $150, $200 to take your family out. You can take 4 people, you take $50 and you can eat good and be full and be satisfied. But yet, we're serving you on real china. We're serving you with real utensils. Nothing is, paper or plastic. And you can actually go there and shake the chef's hand. Like, maybe you ain't got the money to go Cipriani's, maybe you ain't the money to go to Carbone, but you can go to my restaurant and chef will be there and you can be treated like family.
So sorry if I missed this. How did you get from Florida all the way to Vegas?
So this is a great question, and I tell people this, man. This is a great story, and it's also a great lesson for entrepreneurs listening. We came to Vegas, being just straight up with you. We were running. We opened up a chicken restaurant, and we were running away from competition. I don't know what my partners will tell you, but that's my take on it. We came to Vegas. Obviously Vegas is great for businesses, great for LLCs, but we were scared of Chick-fil-A. We were scared of Popeyes. We were scared of Raising Cane's. So we moved to Vegas because at that time in 2007, those concepts weren't here, right? Raising Cane's. I think it was one Raising Cane's, but they're nothing like the following they have now. And that's like a total tidal wave that they have now. So our logic was, okay, Raising Cane's is on the street. Yeah, it might be one here, but we're inside the malls. And so we did a huge West Coast run, and we had stores all over the nation. But like I said, our lane was inside malls, inside tourist outlets. That was kind of our bag. And so we said, hey, let's go out here. Great LLC options for Vegas. Great location, to live. At that time, it was a lot cheaper. Cost of living was down, right? But that was our angle coming to Vegas. And so the lesson I learned, and the reason I want to share this with entrepreneurs is, man, don't run from competition. Because when you run from competition, you run from education and customer awareness. If I'm in Atlanta, downtown Atlanta, and it's Popeyes, Chick-fil-A, Raising Cane's, Guthrie's, Zaxby's, and let's say I open up my chicken spot, what is the common fact? I know everybody in this motherfucker eat chicken. So now all I got to do is either keep my product consistent, and one day you're going to give me a shot. One day that Chick-fil-A line going to be long. One day that Zaxby's person going to mess up your order. One day somebody at Chick-fil-A ain't going to say my pleasure. And then that's when you're going to be like, you know what, let me give Big Zach a shot because he sell Kool-Aid, he sell homemade macaroni and cheese and banana pudding, and they ain't got that at Chick-fil-A. And I don't have to re-educate that customer. So I learned that the hard way. Like my stores in Seattle, they told me my sweet tea was too sweet. When I opened up my store in Syracuse, New York, at Carousel Mall, they told me that my Texas toast was French toast. So it's like, now it's not even about whose taste. Now we're not even talking about taste. We're not even talking about a product. We're talking about an education. You don't know what sweet tea is supposed to taste like. Right? We're not even arguing about whose tea is better, or if I use Lipton, or it doesn't even matter. My recipe, you don't even know what sweet tea is supposed to taste like. Or we're not even arguing about the toast. You think it's French toast. So educating a customer is the hardest part of a business. So if any of these entrepreneurs out here on the call, man, say, hey, I got an idea, I want to start something, man, go with your move, go with what you know, and go with what the market needs. Definitely be creative and be authentic in your approach, but all this reinventing the wheel shit, man, like, if it ain't broken, don't fix it. And you can look at it. You can don't believe me. Go look at where Popeye's headquarters is. Go look what Chick-fil-A headquarters is. Yeah. Go look what Raising Cane's did. The owner Todd Graves from Baton Rouge. He got his whole neighborhood on lock. Now, if you want to open up a Raising Cane's in Cincinnati, you be the fool. You franchise it. But Todd Graves ain't leaving Baton Rouge, right? Like I got this shit on lock. I'm dancing at LSU every weekend. If y'all want to open up in Cincinnati, hey man, God bless you. Just pay me my royalty fee. But I'm not leaving this. Why would I leave home field advantage?
Wow. Love that, man.
So anyway, that's just just apply that for everything, man. Because educating a customer is tough. And I'm not saying it's impossible, because eventually, like look at what Uber did, right? There are business models where, it's time and the people are demanding a change. But some things are just like, man, that education process is going to take too long. And if you're going to do it, just understand it's going to be a high dollar, high risk investment.
Absolutely.
Boy, my mom's just educating everybody on sweet tea. Every time she's like, golly.
I never heard a complaint back home. It was too sweet. I mean, it never could be too sweet. Or like little things, like I was one of the first restaurants that had a national contract with Kool-Aid Craft. So basically, this how it happened in my restaurant. One of my girls used to come to my restaurant in Orlando, like, hey man, the days I don't come here, no offense, Zach, but the days I come here, I forget my Kool-Aid. I'm like, so you don't come here because we don't have Kool-Aid? And I was like, shit, that's an easy fix. Tomorrow we'll have Kool-Aid. So we have Kool-Aid. I got Kool-Aid rolled in all 56 stores. I ended up getting a national contract with Kraft. That's the person who makes Kool-Aid. And customers asking what flavor is the Kool-Aid? Red. Like this is what it is, right? This ain't tropical. It's red Kool-Aid. Like it's so simple. But back to that educational process. If I was in Tampa, Florida, selling tropical punch red Kool-Aid, nobody would ever ask me what flavor this is, man. Like, you know what this is, bro. Like, you get your chicken, you get your Kool-Aid, you sit your ass down, right? So just that education, man, is just key.
It may shut it with the quick hits.
You Zach, you ever been starstruck?
Man, female wise, yes. A lot. female wise, yes. I remember one time I was in Miami. I was at Club Privé with my same Asian homeboy that I've been in business with, man. I think it was his 21st birthday. And I'll never forget, Katie Albert was in the club. She was in there. I don't want to put nobody under the bus, but she was in there with Dwight Freeney. And man, I was at this table that I had no business affording to be at. Thank you for my Asian homeboy for getting a tab that night. But I was a place. I looked good, like I looked like I should be there, but I couldn't afford to be there. Man, she was in the club and she was just, it wasn't like Privé. I don't know if y'all been to Miami, been in that club, but how they had it at Opium, it was just like real intimate and sexy. Like everything was pretty much VIP. So once you got in Privé, you didn't really even have to have a table. You needed a table, but you could kind of just be in there, just bouncing around, and it was nothing but just people in there, right? And so anyway, she was in there, and I just took my shot, and I just was starstruck. I said, man, look, I don't even know what to say. I just offer you a drink, and that's it, man. And I know she don't remember me, but that was probably the only time I was starstruck, man. Growing up as a kid, and I was underage. I think I was maybe 18 at that time. In obviously 21 and up club, but yeah, man, good times back in the day in Miami, man. And then another time I've been starstruck from a guy standpoint, I will say this. I'm a huge car buff, and I love cars, man. Anybody tell you, cars, shoes, and clothes has been my poor investments. And I remember I was standing in front of Club Bed in Miami. There was another asshole guy at the door. He wouldn't let nobody in. His name was Manny. This dude turned everybody down. I seen him deny Fabulous. I seen him deny Busta Rhymes. Damn. Like, Fab, you got on a long tee you can't get. I'm like crazy. So that one night, I saw Allen Iverson pull up. And the reason I was starstruck, he pulled up in 7 Bentleys with Virginia plates. And it was just that mentality where just like, I'm from the streets, so I kind of just know, like, just the mentality, like, look, not only is it 7 Bentleys, but this ain't no rental. I'm from Virginia. I'm from Virginia. These all got VA plates on them. Like, what this is. Yeah. And then, it's just, he hop out, he got his braids, come to the bags, little rag on, white tee. And they let AI in that motherfucker. They didn't care what he had.
They want that smoke.
They didn't want that smoke, man. And then when nobody with him played basketball. Everybody was from the streets. AI was the only hooper that night with them 7 Bentleys. Like everybody else, they ain't play no ball. So it could have gone so far left so quick. And so that was a guy moment where I was starstruck, man. Just being a kid out there, 19 years old, and you're like, who the fuck is this, right? Like, you see 7 Bentleys pull up. I mean, I'm matching same car. It was like 7 identical cars. And then I'm like, this mother. And I saw him pop out. You don't even believe it's him, right? And you see the Virginia place, like, God damn, man. It was just like one of them paid in full moments, where you just sitting there just stuck. But AI was the real deal, man.
All right, two more real quick ones. All right, movie that you quote the most.
Oh, man, you got some good ones in Mage. Boy, you on some shit. I think Donnie Brasco, for sure. Yeah, man, I'm big on like loyalty, the betrayal, all those type of things. There's a lot of life lessons in that movie. And another one, I mean, obviously American Gangster, I quote a lot of gangster movies I like. And my mom always give me a hard time. You're like, you ain't no thug, you ain't no gangster. Why you keep quoting this shit? And I was like, you know what, mama, it's the life lessons in it. So you don't have to, if you can just take something, and even though it may be negative or criminalistic, whatever, but you're applying it to something positive. Because all these guys were brilliant, in their own right? And they just obviously chose an illegal route. But if they could have, changed that same mindset with something positive, I mean, they could have run Fortune 500 companies, let's be honest. So I think Donnie Brasco and for sure American Gangster. If I had to pick a third one, oh, man. New Jack City, too. I mean, that was obviously, I watched that last night. So that's probably my third one.
Let's go.
All right. And if you could have, let's say, a top 4, we'll call it Route Rush. I don't even know if they score on there, but Florida football players, who would that be? University of Florida.
Top floor of Florida football players. So the first one I obviously would do Emmitt Smith. I would do Javon Kearse.
Okay.
I'm gonna do another running back, Fred Taylor.
Yes, sir.
Yes. And then I'm gonna do in my class, and everybody else gonna be mad, but I'm gonna do Percy Harvin. I'm gonna do
Okay.
Percy Harvin.
I ain't mad at it. I
I'm
ain't
gonna do
mad at
Percy
it
Harvin.
at
And
all.
the reason I do Percy, man, is because somebody who could literally change the game, just within seconds. He was those people. I was getting my degree when he was coming into school, but he was just one of those people where you could see he was special, man. Even as a freshman, they just knew, like, when somebody got it. And another one from Virginia, came down there. Hey, I ain't playing with y'all. I ain't from here. Y'all know what it is. Maybe y'all ain't been to VA, but I'm about to show y'all, like, how this shit go down. And so just a monster. And obviously running back, receiver, return specialist, so many different things in his bag.
Yeah, whatever we think of Debo and Ty Hill, that's what Percy Harvin was.
Yeah, and Debo's another one that's special, man. Shout out to Debo, man. It's like we talk about those game-changing, electrifying people that the game is not over with them on the field.
Facts. Sure. All right, man. So that was quick hits. We want to jump into the winner's circle, man. So this worked out perfectly, man. So I want to start off the winner's circle with, we talked about the food acumen, right? And I know you do some other things. So, but let's talk about that hat you're wearing, man. And let's talk about your other company.
For sure. So definitely Residency, the company that started in 2019 with two other buddies of mine, and actually one of those guys, the co-founders.
2019 was your year, by the way.
Yeah, man. We talk about going all in, and we can touch on that after I kind of do the winner circle as to how we got to this situation.
Right.
But long story short, 2019 started Residency. Right now we're in 11 different markets. First 3 markets were LA, San Fran, and Vegas. And pretty much it was all about representing your residency, right? Just wherever you're from, local joker. Hey, you proud to be where you're from or proud to be where you're living now. We want to give you an option. Prior to us, we felt the only really affiliation you could do with the city was a sports team. So you might be from New York, but your team might be the, Philadelphia Eagles. Your team might be the, Atlanta Falcons, but you're forced to wear a Yankee hat or forced to wear a Mets or a Jets hat. And so our option was creating logos that are completely different, fresh look, we own, and giving people another option, and not even affiliated with sports if you don't want it to be, right? Okay. You just love Vegas and you just want a Vegas hat. And growing up, the only really hats that we saw like this were either at the corner store or at the airport, and they really weren't of quality, and they really didn't have anything. It just looked kind of tacky, cheap. It looked like something bobo, so that's kind of why people went back to the sports route. And so I've always been fashionable, like I said, love sports icons and kind of what they did to change the culture. Like we talk about AI, people like that. And so long story short, one of my buddies who's the co-founder of Residency, he reached out to me and said, man, like, I got an idea. Obviously, you've been in the restaurant business, business, but obviously he knew retail and he knew fashion. And I said, man, well, look, motherfuckers call me every day with stuff. I said, man, you got to come with a product. You come with something that you have finalized, and I can put it in people's hands. I can get the product seen. I can make it pop. And I'm gonna work my ass off to ensure that. But I don't. What I know, all I know is how to buy shit. I'm a consumer. I don't know how to design nothing. I don't know the fit. I don't know the fabric, the stitch count. Those are things you got to come up with. So he came with a product, and he took me up on my offer, and kind of the rest has been history, man. As far as how we've grown.
So with that, was the ultimate key putting it in athletes' hands? Because athletes are rocking.
So my marketing strategy, long story short, is I treat my business almost like a spider web in a way to force people's hands. And so that the intent, to answer your question, the brand mission is to make people feel proud about their residency. I never change from it, right? Whether you're a local joker or whether you're a $100 million athlete, I want you to feel proud about your city. But let's be honest, right? A lot of times the way people shop is if they're not shopping or buying unless somebody cool is rocking it, right? Or unless somebody they look up to, or somebody who's their neighborhood hero, or somebody from their hometown. So long story short, getting eyes on your product and visibility has kind of been my marketing approach, no matter whether it's athletes or not. Now, obviously, we United States of America, I mean, we love sports, we love football, we die for our sports. So that is a huge aspect of life. But what I've always tried to do, it's just those sports players a lot of times trump those other people. Unfortunately, that's the way it is. But basically just get my hats in as many people's hands as possible that have eyes on them. So if you run a podcast, EJ, right? And I got you wearing my hat. If you're a top DJ, yeah, I got you. I'm trying to infiltrate every aspect of society and make people feel like, hey, I could be a local joker, and I'm not Darren Waller, but I'm wearing the same hat Darren Waller's wearing. I'm not Derek Carr, but I'm wearing, or like you were at Pro Bowl, you were next to Floyd. Floyd saw you with my hat on. The other 2 weeks after that, you were next to Shaq. So do I have Shaq and Floyd in a hat? No, but I got 2 pictures with EJ standing next to Floyd and Shaq. So it's just like eyes on products. And, and before you wore that hat with wore that hat next to Floyd, 2 nights before that, my homeboy Jocks was sitting courtside next to Floyd watching LeBron. So it's just like, that spider web of getting eyes on product. And so if I ever send a hat to LeBron, he'd be like, man, I've seen 3-4 people with that same product on. Like, you have that credibility and you have that stamp.
So did you get it on 50? I know is one of your posts. You had that
man, I came to 50. I came to 50, man. Get rich or die trying mentality. It was a long shot. I do a lot of Hail Marys, man. That's one thing that we can talk about too. But I do a lot of Hail Marys. Like Kobe said, you miss all the shots you don't take, right? So like, might be a long shot. But now I put up on 50. 50 had an event here, and I said, man, look, this is my situation. This is how much I made. This is what I'm planning to do this year. And I want you to fuck with it. I want you to be down with it. If it makes sense, call me. If not, hey, ain't no hard feelings. But, I it's one of those type deals. So I haven't heard back from 50 yet. But back to the same marketing strategy, you get 50, you get Power, you get BMF, you get Branson Cognac, you get all these different entities that even if 50 don't wear the hat, it's somehow you're in his organization.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. So basically back to rest of 2019, 11 markets. It's all about representing your city, man. And like I said, I just can't thank everybody enough who's been a supporter and rock with us. And we're gonna keep putting out quality product. We plan to launch about 3 more cities this year.
Yeah.
And we're growing slow and organically, right? It's nothing like, we're not trying to do every city right away. Coming out of pandemic, you got to be careful with logistics and supply chain, all those different type of things, because you are dealing with fabrics and embroiderers and tariffs. But yeah, man, that's kind of been the goal. We're also getting ready to get into some home goods and some different things, like to play off of that residency pitch.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get the feel of the each market? Because I feel like each hat kind of resonates with the city. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's
how we break it down is, we number one, we try to do something different, right? So you might see this hat I'm wearing right now, San Francisco, right? So you may be a San Francisco fan. I'm going to hit you with a certain colorway. I'm going to hit you with a fresh logo. You might be tired of looking at the traditional SF. Obviously, kind of giving you a little bit of marketing, strategy of how I go about getting the eyes on hats. But yeah, we try to be authentic to that city. I'm not perfect. I don't always hit it out the park. So, some places I'm not from, so I don't know. So I lean on people like, hey man, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? But what we try to do is just make people feel comfortable about buying our product and try to align with things that mean something to them. So all of our hats have a name, and so we play off of that residency model. So it's residency. Then we say, okay, this is a San Francisco style hat, but this hat is called the Bay. One of our famous San Fran's hat was called a Candlestick. So I'm playing off of locations, and people have an affection for that. It's like your favorite movie. You ask me my favorite athletes. People have an affection for where they're from and the different. Even you break it down even further. Like, if you ask somebody from LA, they're gonna tell you they ain't gonna say I'm from LA. They're gonna say, if they really know LA, they're gonna say exactly what's said and what hood, right? So it's the same type of thing, man. We just, we break down certain streets, certain landmarks, and the goal is for people to go to those landmarks. Maybe you go to Golden Gate and you take a picture in front of the Golden Gate and your Golden Gate hat, or Candlestick Park, where the 49ers used to play, they tore down, but hey, now this is a piece of history, a moment in time.
Love it. Well, hey man, time is flying when you're having fun, man. So one thing we like to jump to is, man, we have this moment where you can share wisdom, even though you've been imparting wisdom, especially for entrepreneurs. But we like to call this part the assist. This is where you can give a coaching gem, or a quote you live by, or maybe something that you would tell your younger self. So give us a quick quote.
Okay, I'm just gonna say it, man. Is start sooner. Start sooner. I tell people, especially as Black people, Black entrepreneurs, we're trained to be scared, to not take shots, to not take risks. But what if this happened? What if that happened? What if you get fired? Hey, who gives a fuck? Start sooner. I started my entrepreneur career at 23. A lot of people don't start till later. I wish I would have started at 16. I've always been this hustler. I've always had these ideas. And the cool thing about starting sooner is when you start sooner, if you fail, nobody cares. If I would have failed with a chicken restaurant at 15, I'm 15. I ain't got no mortgage, no car insurance. I ain't got no wife, no kid, right? So it's like, even if I fail, who cares? And those failures are going to set you up for success, man. So I just tell everybody, start sooner, and don't be afraid to start small. Don't be afraid to start small. Everybody wants to be this big shot, and it don't work that way. You got to go through the process and go through the steps. But if you never start, then you never can get there. So I think just no ego, none of that. Just grind, hard work. Start earlier. Start small. Start small if you have to. If you start bigger, great. And take risks sooner. And from parents or people who will have kids that are coming up, maybe it's too late for you or you don't want to do it, but don't be no dream killer, man. Let people's ideas, even if you know it's crazy, hey, you never know, it might be crazy to you, but it might be the exact idea we need to take us to another level. So I've always been one of those persons where, you tell me no, I'm gonna come back and I can't wait to prove your ass wrong. But a lot of people don't have that type of willpower, and especially if it's coming from a parent or a guardian, right. You can really kill somebody's dream. Maybe they can tell somebody on the street, fuck off, I'm gonna do it, but they can't tell their mama or daddy, right? So if you're that mama or daddy or person, man, don't kill that dream. If anything, facilitate it and help that person, especially if they look like us, man.
There it is, man. All right, man. Well, jumping off, MH, any good to go?
Man.
All right,
appreciate
man.
you, Zach.
I appreciate y'all's time, big dog. Thank you for everything, man. And like I say, just anybody here locally in Vegas, definitely swing by Kubani Dodd, 1885 residency. Like I say, we're in 11 markets. We just launched Green Bay. We just launched Dallas. And we are getting ready to do our residency elite program for our customers, with different product offers, incentives, and giving back to those communities. And that's one thing that we try to do with residency, apart from making people feel proud about their residency. We can't change the world. We're not a charity, but trying to give back in ways that we can, that makes sense. Right. I mean, I done bought Jordan and Supreme all my life, and they ain't never did nothing in my hood. Right. So just trying to, make an impact where we can.
I love it, man. Well, right. Hey, I just want to give a special shout out. I want to thank Miss James Schneider for definitely connecting us, man. It was definitely, she's a big proponent of kind of rolling out here. So just want to give her love. I want to thank you, Zach, man, because there's so much we could get into, man. We ain't talked about the worms. We ain't talked about health. There's so much. So we
and I don't mind coming back. We can do this whenever.
There you go, man. We may have to do an update, man, and check in with you, man, because you do so much. And I'm glad you talked about what you do, because we've seen it for just locally with the LV hats, what you've done for Darren Waller and donating to his. So thank you again for our guests. Thank you, the people, for listening, man. I hope you enjoyed the show. Just know that we drop a new show every Thursday. Please subscribe. All right, because visual representation matters. So we're on YouTube. We're on everywhere that you can watch podcasts. So please stay safe. Practice gratitude, and know we're rooting for you.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all.
All us blacks got in sports and entertainment until we even.
Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yeah. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Look. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Spent about 2 racks on handmade new rags. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. That's everybody from sports to college class to rap and back.